The reason it makes it so important is because of its corruption by denominational people. Individuals who do not understand the Lord's church nor His kingdom. And when you don't understand something, then you have to realize that you're going to twist and pervert and corrupt it. God told Jeremiah long ago in Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 10 that I've set you over the nations as a prophet. And a part of His process of preaching and teaching and prophesying would be to tear down, to uproot, and to destroy. And whether we realize it or not, there's so many mistaken ideas in the minds of people that's got to be eradicated before the seed of the Word of God can find good soil, germinate, and produce fruit. And so what we're about tonight is to look at the text in Matthew chapter 24 and look at it from the standpoint of what the text says and show it certainly does not teach what some say that it teaches. So it's very important, and I'll refer to the outline. I won't follow the outline. I want you to follow the text in the Bible with me. And the outline I will refer to from time to time because I have some printed material in it that will supplement what we're saying here in these passages. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus has departed the temple for the last time before His crucifixion. And as He's leaving the temple, the apostles who are traveling with Him across the Kidron Valley over to the Garden of Gethsemane, where He will later be betrayed by Judas, be led into trial, and then the next day be crucified. They're observing these large rocks in the temple. See how large these massive stones are. It's an impressive thing. Because they were impressed with the material aspect of things rather than the spiritual at this time. And Jesus makes the observation that one stone will not be left upon another. Matthew chapter 24, first 3 verses. Well, this is puzzling to these men, as it would be to us if we were to walk with the President of the United States and he were to say there's not going to be left at the Capitol anymore. It's going to be destroyed. I can imagine how I would feel. And so it was a shocking thing to them, and so they asked 3 questions in verse 3. And as He sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto Him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? That's number 1. What shall be the sign of Thy coming and of the end of the world? 3 questions. Now the problem with them and the problem with people today is that they run all 3 of these questions together. They see them as one event, but the Lord did not. Now in the first few verses here, actually it goes all the way down through verse 34. He's going to be talking about, he's going to be answering those first 2 questions. When will these things be? When are these stones going to be thrown down? And how will we know when it's going to happen? What's the signs? And of the end of the world. Now if you'll notice verse 34 in Matthew 24, he makes this observation. This is Jesus' analysis. He says, Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all these things be accomplished. Now this generation is going to see this building destroyed, and there's going to be some evidence that it's going to take place, and you're going to observe that. But then he says in verse 36, But of that day and that hour knows no man. And just stop and think about it. Here are insights given to when this is going to take place, when the destruction of Jerusalem is going to take place. But there's going to be a day that no one knows. Now, from the very surface of it, when a person starts saying these end-time signs are an indication that the end is right now, it's going to happen, you better get ready. All this thing we were talking about yesterday, here is people that zapped out the cars, you see, raptures taking place and all this kind of thing. They don't know what they're talking about. Jesus says that day God has reserved only for himself to make known. And I don't have the right to try to predict that, nor does anyone else, not even Jesus did. All right, now let's back up and look at what he says about some of these signs that they would have. And there's two areas here that we look at. Number one, there are some general signs, and my notes from this section here indicates that down toward the bottom of the first page. There are some general signs that will take us through verse 14. Now let's look at what some of these general signs are that's answering what shall be the sign. All right, he's going to give that to them. Verse 5 beginning. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall lead many astray, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for these things must need come to pass, but the end is not yet. Now we jump immediately to the end time. That's not talking about that day, because nobody knows that. But he's talked about one stone not being left upon another until all be thrown down. He says, now there's going to be this kind of turmoil in the world, but the end of the nation is not yet. You see verse 34 again. This generation will not pass away till all these things fulfill. All right, let's continue. General sign. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and earthquakes, divers places. All these things are the beginning of travail. A number of ladies in this audience know what that means. Most men think we do, but we don't. And thank God we don't. Because here is the starting point of the baby's on the way. You better get somewhere where he can make his entrance or her entrance into the world. That's just the beginning. So, when you see all these things, what will be the signs? Here are some of them. All this turmoil that's taking place. The Jewish nation is going to resist the Roman incursion as much as they possibly can, and there's going to be strife and turmoil until eventually the Romans come down and destroy that city. That's what Jesus is predicting. Then shall they deliver you up unto tribulation, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. Many false prophets shall arise, and shall lead many astray. And because iniquity shall be multiplied, the love of the many shall wax cold. But he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. The end there again is not the end of the world. One stone not left upon another, it will all be thrown down. That's the end he's talking about. And as these Jews were against Jews, they hated Paul. They tried to stop him. They tried to kill him. They even took vows